This is not a bad idea.
Well, the Oklahoma governor just announced a new program for his public schools called Classroom to Careers, which sounds great, doesn't it? Except here's how it's going to work. If you want to graduate high school in Oklahoma, the only way that you can qualify to graduate is if you, 1, get accepted into a university, 2, if you can't get accepted into a university or can't afford to go to a university, you have to get into a trade school or a technical college. And if you don't want to do that or cannot do that either, compulsory military enlistment. Ask me if there are any exceptions for students with special needs in this program currently. No, there are not. If you're sitting there thinking, what's wrong with you? I don't understand the problem with this. This is just preparing students for their future and make sure that they have a job when they graduate high school. You need to step back and think about some of the implications that a program like this brings along with it. You want your kid to get into a university so they can qualify for graduation? Oh, but you can't afford it? Too bad. There's no FAFSA anymore. There's no Pell Grants anymore. There are no opportunities for your child to be afforded some kind of financial assistance now that the Department of Education is gone. You have a kid that's bright, hardworking, smart, well-deserved of a college education and can't afford it. That's too bad. Their next option is trade school or technical school. You know what? Acceptance into trade school and technical school isn't free either. You can't afford that either. Too bad, so sad. I guess your kid is going to be in the Navy now. All those children that do not have the capacity to do any of those things, what about them? Something about that smells like institutionalization and forced labor to me. What if your kid wants to be an independent artist or musician or go to Hollywood to try and make it in movies or television or be an entrepreneur with a little bit of money they saved up? All of that is off the table unless you're a 1%er. School choice, parental rights, all that's a myth to earn your vote. They lied to you.
I actually have to disagree with her on this. I think this is a pretty good idea. I don't think it's I don't think it's a good idea to have a bunch of young people just wandering around not knowing what to do in life. And I think that school really doesn't train you for any of that. So I'm definitely a big fan of the idea. But I know I heard some of her criticisms. And to me, some of her criticisms just, I don't know. I feel like the government, or what she said, her governor, would have already had plans in place. So like one of her biggest issues was about like people with disabilities and things. There's accommodations for people with disabilities in almost every facility or aspect of things that people do. So I don't understand why they wouldn't accommodate a situation like that. So that's one thing. The other thing she said was about like, what about the people that want to chase their dreams and go to Hollywood and all this other stuff like that? But it's like, how many 18-year-olds do you know who have enough money, who don't live in like LA and those kind of big places, have enough money to even pursue something like that? Like most kids don't. So I don't know. I just don't think her criticisms were really too valid. Like maybe the FAFSA one, but other than that, I don't know.
So I'm with you on the fact I like the underlying idea of it. I will say that I like the underlying idea of it. I haven't taken the time to really dig deep into the bill or to the legislation to know if all the kinks have been worked out. So it may be the case that maybe they left out the line about people with disabilities. But as you mentioned, there's accommodations that's at a federal level anyway. So those kids should be taken care of from that regard. And the worst thing that can happen is people just don't graduate with a high school degree. And let's be honest. I mean, the people who she named most likely don't need that high school degree. Most likely weren't going to get it anyways. So if you're going to be someone who wants to go and become an entrepreneur, I mean, maybe you get your high school degree, honestly, but in the economy that we're in currently, a high school degree doesn't really do that much for you. I mean, even a bachelor's degree.
I was going to say, a college degree barely does anything for you. So like a high school degree, that's like...
A college degree barely does anything for you unless it's in like STEM or professional career, like law or medicine. Other than that, it's pretty hit or miss. And if it's in liberal arts, good luck. That's facts, right? So it's really not gonna do much anyways. So, and if you're someone who's gonna go and chase your dream of becoming an entrepreneur or a starving artist or whatever it is, you can do that. And what are you gonna do with that degree anyways? Probably not much. But like I said, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they've worked out the kinks. It does to me sound a little bit like it's coming from a privileged standpoint, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I just gotta see how like the rollout is.
Yeah.
So it's like I guarantee you, there's probably like a lot of fine details. Like, okay, maybe you have to be accepted in something. You don't have to go. You have to at least be accepted.
Right.
Or maybe you have to take, because, okay, if any of you guys know, like, when you go to college, a lot of times you got to take, like, pre-exams. Like, you got to take a pre-reading test, a pre-math test, and then they got to, like, place you certain places and stuff like that. So maybe that's just one of the accommodations. I know they had military on there. They had trade school. I think also listen, I don't know the statistics of the area. I'm just going to make the assumption that maybe there's a lot of young people in that area who aren't doing very productive things, or they might be doing things that are hurting their society. So this is a kind of rule to get them to be more productive in a society. Or, maybe their society, their city doesn't have a lot of people occupying like jobs that are open. So maybe like this is their way of trying to get people like that olive branch to do something with their life, so that way they can fill those job purposes. I don't know, and like I said, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to give people some kind of direction, even if they don't follow through with it. Like for example, just because they get accepted to a college, just because they attend college, doesn't mean they all graduate college. And not only that, but like okay, if you're graduating as an 18-year-old, you still have the rest of your life to look forward to. So it's not like you doing 6 months of school. 2 months of school is going to stop you from being able to go to Hollywood. Like, I don't see how that would derail your entire life unless you decided to sit down and make the decision to focus on college and do stuff like that. So, I mean, I think mainly what they want is to give kids the right nudge in a certain direction, so that way they don't spend like 5 or 6 years at their life working at Taco Bell.
So I just keyed in on the word you used. I like it's nudge, because that's really what it is. Because not to sound so like flippant or dismissive, but those folks who it's gonna weed out people. Those people that were gonna drop out of school were gonna drop out anyways. So no matter if this goes into place, it doesn't matter. They were already gonna drop out. So who is this really gonna affect? Maybe those people who are on that cusp and they were kind of just floating around, like not sure about what they were gonna do and kind of just going with the flow. And now they're gonna be like, okay, you know what? I don't want to be someone who doesn't have my high school degree. So let me get my mind right and myself in gear to at least do something.
Yeah.
But anyone below that level, it's just going to be what it was anyways. They're going to drop out. They're going to, whatever's going to happen. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and the people that have disabilities, we touched on that. I think there'll be something in the law.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be accommodated.
Yeah.
Because we make room for them in every other place in society. So and those people that I'm pretty sure like a lot of them get financial assistance. If I'm sure, I'm not exactly sure about that, but I think a lot of them get financial assistance. So, I mean, like I said, we've already made accommodations for them. So it's not like they're just going to be left out cold and cooked. So.
Right. And, right. And going back to what I was saying, too, about, like, how this will give the right nudge to people. Just because right now, okay, so where that location they're at in Oklahoma, those folks who were graduating with high school degrees just in name only, because they didn't really earn it because they just got pushed through the system.
Yeah.
They're now going to be the same position they would have been anyways, just without the high school degree that no one ever asked about.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think I'm lying, because I do see that on job applications, but I don't think that like.
Oh yeah, they are, but.
I mean, I don't think they pay attention to it. Let's be honest. I don't think that they're like.
I think that's just like I don't know why that's even on that job applications, to be honest with you.
I feel like that's like an old thing.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, like back in the day, because I remember, I don't know if you remember, like back in the day, you see a lot of commercials like, oh, finish high school, like you can do it. Like I used to see a lot of those commercials, so maybe like being a high school dropout was like a lot, like kids used to do that a lot. But I don't think I know anyone from my high school that dropped out. I'm not saying that none of them dropped out, because first of all, my school is pretty small, but I personally don't know anyone who dropped out. There probably was.
I don't know.
Well, at least not in the 12th grade. Maybe they dropped out in 11th grade. I don't know.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
We didn't hang out. I didn't hang out in crowds to know. Like, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
So, but I'm sure there were some. But yeah.
Okay. Ultimately, guys, I'm gonna say that this is a good decision. I like it. What do you think? Good decision? Bad decision?
I don't know enough to definitively say, but if I had to just throw it up there, I'd say good decision on its face.
All right, decision makers. If you think this is a bad decision, you think that they're judging people too much and that they should allow kids to be kids, leave a like, leave a comment. If you think this is a great decision and they're measuring in the right direction, leave a like, leave a comment. All right, decision makers, graduate.